and they are the people who allocate your property tax dollars. So please make an informed decision about the people you are going to trust. There are 3 ways in this election to vote. The first is by mail. If you would like to get an absentee ballot, you may apply for one online, or there are some applications on the table outside that you can return to the county clerk. The second way is to do early voting. There is an early voting schedule also outside on the table. And the third is to vote in person on election day. On the boards without compensation, this is a volunteer job. All candidates were invited to attend, but some had scheduling conflicts and will appear at the Ridgefield Crystal Lake Presbyterian Church at our meeting on March 15th at 10:30 a.m. The session will be streamed live on Facebook and recorded. You may also get information on the candidates from the Illinois Voter Guide. Questions will be going out to all board members that have provided email addresses. When they're returned, they'll be posted on illinoisvoterguide.org website, hosted by the League of Women Voters of Illinois. Now I'd like to introduce our moderator for tonight, Mary Finch. She will go over the rules with the candidates. And notice that there are 2 people sitting in the front row that have signs. They will be letting you know how much time you have left to answer questions.
Thank you, Paula. Good evening, everybody. Again, my name is Mary Finch. I'm tonight's moderator. I'm a member of the McHenry County League of Women Voters. Here are the rules governing tonight's forum. Candidates have already drawn order of opening statements. We've established that. Questions from the audience have been sorted and potentially rewritten for duplication, clarity, and appropriateness. They will be asked of each candidate on a rotating basis. Each candidate will have 1.5 minutes to respond, but you may finish your last sentence if your time is up. And remember, please speak into the mic. Audience, if you have further questions, please fill out your note card and one of the league members will come and collect it. I think we've asked everyone to turn off their cell phones. We appreciate that. And following the question and answer period, each candidate will get a 2-minute closing statement. And now let's meet the candidates. Starting to my right is Ryan Olson and Walter A. Moist IV, David Jenkins, and Nicole Pavoris. So I'd like to start an opening statement. Ryan, would you like to begin?
I would. Just making sure that works. Excuse me. So my name, obviously, is Ryan Olson. I'm currently an assistant director of special education in Crystal Lake, District 47. And before that, I would actually say my journey here probably began before I was born. My grandpa was a school board president for a number of years in the town, small town where I grew up, downstate about 4 hours. And since that point, my aunt, my uncle, now my cousin have all been school board members in that same district where I grew up. So my journey continued when I first started as a school psychologist in District 47 back in 2002. I worked at West Elementary. That's where I met my wife, who's a 155 graduate. She went through all the schools in 47 as well. And then I spent 7 years in District 47, with the last being an assistant principal at Canterbury Elementary. And then from there, I've pretty much done everything you can think of, it seems like, within the school walls. So I've been a director of special ed. I've been principal at an alternative high school in Peoria, Illinois. And then prior to coming back to District 47, I was a superintendent for 5 years, actually, for 2 school districts at the same time. So I had 14 school board members that I had to answer to and communicate with on a regular basis. And over those 5 years, I probably attended about 150 board meetings, because you always had to double up every month. And then really it got to a point after being a superintendent for a few years, 5 years, I just wanted to spend more time with my family. So I went back to being a school psychologist. But then when an administrative position opened up, my kids are now several years older than they were at that time. Then I saw the opening in 47, and I moved back here largely, honestly, because of 155. And just, I have a junior and a freshman that go to PR, and just the opportunities that it affords them, and I just want to continue that.
Thank you, Ryan. Walter?
Good evening, everyone. My name is Walter Moist. I'm running today just because I have skin in the game. My son is entering District 155 as a freshman next year. I'm running today because I'm a broken candidate, and I don't want your kids to end up like me. I struggled after high school and during high school. I struggled with poor jobs, with mental health issues, with substance abuse, with homelessness, PTSD, and other such things. And I struggled with the things that I did not learn in high school. I see some of those things still being replicated today, and I fear for what my child might be exposed to in regards to having the skills needed to succeed in the workplace for tomorrow. I see a whole lot of opportunity within the district for infrastructure improvements. I see some expansion of curriculum that I believe needs to be done, whether it be basic financial and ethics, civics again, teaching kids cursive, whether it be we teach about the Native American cultures that called McHenry County home. I believe that we need to get politics out of the classroom. We need to get politics out of the school district. We need to focus on the students. I'm not a perfect person. Back in my early days, I did have a lot of problems. You know, there's a piece out there, Gays Against Groomers, that has said some nice things about me. But that's not who I am. I'm here because those made me who I am, a civic-minded person who wants to teach his child about not only government in America, but also make sure that he has the skills to succeed for the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Dave?
All right, thank you. First, I would like to thank the League of Women Voters for hosting this event. It's great to have this opportunity. Again, my name is Dave Jenkins, and my family moved to Crystal Lake in 2006. I've spent the last 25 years in education. I started with the Huntley School District in 2000. It was one of the fastest growing districts in the state of Illinois. During that time, I oversaw technology, operations, food service, and transportation, and that was a great opportunity for me. In 2010, I moved over to District 47 to oversee that technology department and eventually became the Assistant Superintendent of Technology. My wife is a high school math teacher. She's amazing at a neighboring school district. We have 2 children that attended Crystal Lake South and graduated. My son is a math teacher at a neighboring school district as well, and my daughter works for the McHenry County Clerk's Office. So I would say that our family is very public service minded, and we have some really interesting conversations at the dinner table every night. So in 2012, I also had the opportunity to receive my master's degree in school business management. And I have a Type 75 certificate with the Chief School Business Official endorsement. And I also am a volunteer for the Crystal Lake South varsity basketball team. And just a shameless plug, I only have 30 seconds left. We play tomorrow night for the sectional championship. I decided to run for the school board because I'm passionate about providing opportunities for our students to succeed. And it would be my honor to serve. Thank you.
Thank you, Dave. Nicole?
Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to be here tonight. My name is Nicole Pavoris. Sorry, not too close. I have 2 of my children who have graduated from D155, specifically Prairie Ridge. My oldest graduated in 2018. He's now a member of the U.S. Air Force stationed in Texas, but he's deployed to Iraq right now. And then I have a sophomore, or a daughter who graduated in 2023, and she's a sophomore in New York at Rochester Institute of Technology, where she swims and is doing industrial design. And then I have a junior at Prairie Ridge as well. So he's bringing up the rear, but he is enjoying it. He was on the third place soccer team state title winners this year, so that was very cool. And personally, I am a teacher at Larkin High School in Elgin, Illinois. I've been a teacher since 2001 and at Larkin the entire time. I have been on the D155 Board of Education since 2017, sorry. And in that time, the board has collaborated with district administration, teachers, staff, students, and community members to enhance the educational experience that the district provides. We've added lots of new opportunities for students, including certified nursing assistant, the CNA program, tons of more dual credit classes. We offer over 40 right now, including U.S. history, PE, music theory, statistics, pretty much in every content area. We also offer a geometry and construction class where the students learn the math concepts in the classroom and then can go out and see the work site and how those formulas and things apply to an actual work site. So it's super cool. And recently we've instituted a internship program. We have over 85 district partners, community partners that have offered and helped our students with over 200 of our students completing internships. So I just want to be a part of it again.
Okay, thank you. Very good. Well, let's begin the questioning. Question number 1. Please define the role of a school board member, starting with you, Walter.
A school board member is an advocate for the community and for the students. They're there to make sure that the guidance and the direction of the district aligns with the values of the community, that the services and instruction they provide benefit the employment and the workforce, that we maintain the buildings and the grounds to make sure our property values are good, and that we send out the appropriate emails when necessary. The district is there or this board members are there ultimately to provide insight and I guess a backstop against the administrative wills of what they believe instruction should be.
Thank you. David?
Can I ask you to repeat the question?
Yes. Please define the role of a school board member.
Okay. A school board member, like Walter said, is there for oversight, governance, and things like that, and to approve policy. I think there are some times where a board member in my 25 years of experience goes in with an agenda. I don't have an agenda to really push. I think I've seen amazing things that happen in 155 in terms of opportunities for students, many that Nicole just listed. And so I just want to continue to help provide that. So I think that's the role of a school board member, is to basically hire the superintendent, provide that accountability that the district needs both fiscally and to make sure that the academics and the opportunities are there. So thank you.
Thank you, Dave. Nicole?
Yeah, I mean, I would echo both of the sentiments that that Walter and Dave have also said. I mean, the job of the school board is to hire the superintendent, and we have done a really good job in that aspect. Neil Lisinski, Dr. Lisinski, is an incredible mouthpiece for the district and is always moving the district forward and ultimately doing what's best for students. And I think that shows in the collaborativeness of the district office and the board and even the students and the community members that we have partnered with, as well as making sure that we're good, that we're taking care of making sure that we are not doing, the wrong thing with the taxpayers' money, because that's, we know where our money comes from and that we have to make sure that we're good shepherds with that. And to push back, like we have been in meetings where, I think the administration is like, oh, we're going to do this. And the board's job is to sit there and say, well, could we do it this way? Or could we do it some other way to be more fiscally responsible or get more out of the few dollars that we have? So again, collaboration is always the key, and it's been a really great way that our district is functioning, and I think it should be continuing that way.
Thank you. Ryan?
Yes. So just to echo my fellow candidates' statements, so for me, the role of a school board member is to primarily serve as kind of a liaison between the community and the school district. Also, be an advocate for students, and again, as my fellow candidates have mentioned, hire the superintendent because that is the board's employee. But to use the analogy, or the analogy I like to use, I guess, is kind of the whole balcony dance floor analogy. And to me, school board members should be on the balcony directing the dance, but not necessarily doing the work on the dance floor. And that goes through, again, that communication piece where we're communicating with the superintendent, administration, and vice versa, but we're also considering, whatever the community is letting us know, obviously, because again, we're voted into these positions by the community, so it's to serve as that liaison, setting board policy, and really making sure that what we do day in and day out is aligned with our strategic plan, with our core values.
Okay, thank you. Question number 2. How do you envision your relationship with the other board members and with the superintendent? And if we start with Dave?
So I think that relationship is key. Nicole already talked about being collaborative, but you also have to have your own opinions and share those opinions. But at the end of the day, when we make decisions as a board, we need to support each other and the direction of the district. In terms of working with the superintendent, that is something that obviously the board president would work with more directly, but all of us would have a voice and would speak with that with Dr. Lazinski as opportunities arose. And I think that, it's just important for us to listen to what the community has to say, but, also refer people back to, the teacher or the principal or things like that. So I think that's important to make sure that people are talking to the right people and understand our role as board members to really focus on, just our relationship with the superintendent and what our role and capacity is.
Thank you. Nicole?
I'm sorry, would you be able to repeat the question just so I remember exactly?
Sure. How do you envision your relationship with the other board members and with the superintendent?
That's a good question. I mean, there are 7 of us that work on the board, and we all we come from different backgrounds, and that's the best piece of a functioning board, I feel. And you have different assets of areas of where expertise. I've been a teacher for 20 years, and currently we have people on the board who are preschool teachers, so they have a whole different perspective than myself, who's been in high school. We have people from the financial world. Have people on the board for a very long time, and they have the history of the board. And sometimes and we have an attorney on the board. I mean, we just have an array of areas, and we all bring our own expertise, and then we are able to, discuss things. And it's really great to see how discussions can ebb and flow, and sometimes, kind of get a little, I don't want to say argumentative, but, we push back at each other, and that's where the best discussions come out of. And I just feel that it has to be a civil discourse, and we will get through anything that comes our way.
Thank you. Ryan?
So primarily, I would say, we're all here, maybe not necessarily for the same reasons, but we're still all here doing the same thing in terms of running for the school board. And we all have, just different rich backgrounds, I think, that lend themselves. And so I feel like it's a case of mutual respect. There's not anything that one of us can do on our own. And so it's really about having at least 4 of us come together on consensus and moving an initiative forward, voting on, policy issues, whatever the case may be. But at the end of the day, we're all in the same position in terms of serving the community, serving the schools, serving the students primarily. Did you say there was another part about the superintendent? What was the second?
Yeah, how do you envision your relationship with the superintendent?
So again, as I said in my other question, the superintendent is the board's employee, and so I feel like, I know when I was a superintendent, I appreciated, some very frank conversations with my board members, and they would let me know things that they would hear out in the community, but they also respected my experiences, and what I brought to the table. So I feel like there's that kind of a mutual respect, but also understanding that, that superintendent has different experiences than I do, and it's just this kind of symbiotic relationship is how I look at it.
Thank you. Walter?
I think that you guys have all done a wonderful job with the board. I mean, we're the top 15% in the country. Our superintendent is nationally, got national recognition. Our sports programs are phenomenal. So, I mean, I want to recognize that. And that's something that I would certainly do. I'm not coming in to be argumentative or to blow up the system, right? But one thing that, they talked about was having attorneys on boards, finance people on the board, teachers on the board. I got an associate's degree. I went to Elgin Community College. So what I can bring to the board and what I can do is bring the perspective of the people in the support roles. I can bring that perspective, and offer that perspective in a polite and respectful way, of course, for the people that may not necessarily have the lived experience that's already there. So, and in regards to communications, again, with the superintendent, you support them in public, and when the door closes, sometimes you could have frank conversations. And that's really the best way to handle things is a unified front, because really we're here for the kids.
Okay, thank you. Next question, and we will start with Nicole. What is the greatest challenge facing District 155 today?
Well, we've overcome many challenges since I've been on the board, and like I said, we have a whole host of programs that are helping kids, and I think one of the biggest problems just in education in general is the amount of kids who are having mental health crises, and I think the District D155 has definitely done a really good job. We have Haber Oaks. We have provided more staffing, and we've increased our deans, and we've increased our psychologists and our social workers, and I just feel that across the board, that's the biggest challenge facing education today, and I think in D155, that's definitely something that we're seeing, an increase in students who are having crises or dealing with things that they need help with, and we've done a really good job trying to manage that and seek out the kids or make sure that we're ahead of the processes and making sure that they're getting the help that they need.
Thank you. Ryan?
For me, I think just especially in the role I'm currently in and just the students that I've worked with throughout my career, for me, just some of the federal funding uncertainties, like whether that'll exist, I don't know, but the federal funding that districts largely receive are for some of our most vulnerable populations. So we have, Title I funds for students that come from lower socioeconomic backgrounds. We have the IDEA funds, which is for students with special needs. And to me, if those funds go away, then districts would have to look, obviously, through other means to try to, help compensate for that. So for me, it's just kind of dealing with some of those uncertainties that even today, we don't necessarily know what's going to happen, in a couple months or a few months.
Thank you. Walter?
I want to echo what Ryan said. First off, with the fear of the loss of government funds, 20% of the 5,000 students in the community district right now are on the free or reduced lunch program. That's mostly funded through the federal government. And, those calories are important not only for their livelihood, but for their academic success. But for me personally, I think building and progressing the district into the future, Central High School could be called Century High School for all we know. Technology has really expanded, especially in the last 20 years. When I was in high school, we had internet in a box and AOL chat rooms. And today they're using AI to, write papers and things like that. Can we condense our staffing needs by expanding our infrastructure to incorporate more of these telecommunication things and to expand the access to both classes and curriculum? infrastructure to remove a lot of the social discourse that's in the conversation today within the, for safety and for security of the students, whether it be gender-neutral bathrooms with stalls that go all the way down to the ground. Those really are where I see the focus being progressing forward into the future, is making sure we have responsible building and technology improvements.
Okay, thank you. Dave?
Well, Ryan stole my answer for federal funding, so, and I think that might be a challenge, we just don't know yet. One of the things I'd like to talk about, though, is the teacher shortage. There are certain teaching positions that are very hard to fill. There's a lot of teacher burnout. I hope that's not the case in 155, but you do see it across the country, and I think we have to provide an environment where teaching is joyful again, and where learning is joyful again. And so we have a lot of unfunded mandates that are taking up a lot of the time of our administration and our teachers, and we have to find a way to really, find the most important things to do in the classroom on a day-to-day basis, so.
Thank you. The next question is related, and it might be putting you on the spot, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Starting with Ryan, what actions would you take to mitigate the loss of federal funds and programs?
That's a great question. And again, obviously none of us, I don't think in this room necessarily know where those federal funds are going to go, but if it just gets pushed to a different department of the federal government, then maybe it won't actually affect us. But I think it could be just having to tighten our belts. If it's such a large percentage of federal funds that are going away, are there areas that we could possibly, take from? Because again, we're talking about our most vulnerable populations with our federal funds, and so those students are already at a disadvantage. The other thing, especially when you get into the IDEA and special ed students, there's something called maintenance of effort. So you have to be able to spend the same amount from one year to the next on your special ed population. And if you spend less one year than you did the previous year, then you have to explain that to the government. Why did you spend less? And so I think there's lots of different factors that would play into that.
Okay, thank you. Walter?
So the district had a $126 million budget. 4% of that came from the federal government, 15% come from the state. In the long run, we don't know where that money is coming from. We don't know where it's going to go. My concern, again, is always with the poor and the disadvantaged, the marginalized communities, and how do we make up for that? So for me, really, the thought process is we're doing it through public-private partnerships. We're incorporating the use of community action. We're using the not-for-profits out there and their grant writing to help provide these services. Whether it be looking at non-typical funding sources, whether it be partnering with the unions to increase skills-based education. JROTC, they are funded by the Department of Defense, and it's educated by retired military NCOs and officers. And then the DoD covers their salary. There's no reason that kind of infrastructure and education can take place with the unions, whether it be the carpenters, whether it be the electricians or the plumbers or the nurses union, with the teachers union. The opportunities there, especially with technological improvements, to make sure that we can offset the loss of this income, and plus, with the uncertainty of the state budget as well, it's really important to focus on that.
Thank you. Dave?
It's an interesting question because I don't think we know the timing of that. Like if they were to do that, you would hope there would be a transition as part of that process, like, oh, a year from now you'll lose your funding. But that's not what I sense right now in the national conversation. So when things like this happen and they're immediate and they're abrupt, I think that we need to look for, that is the time when we have those rainy day funds, and if it's only 4% of the budget, that would be a perfect time to use some of that extra funds to make sure that we survive that transition. I would hope that they would move some of this stuff, if they are going to move it to the states, that money would come back to the states, and we would eventually find a way to get it back into the classrooms and to the needs that we have. ultimately, I believe that the district would have the people that can come up with some creative solutions, and as a board, we would evaluate those solutions, and then, have those rigorous debates, and then vote on that. So, thank you. I keep beating the 30-second time.
Thank you. Nicole?
Thank you. Yes, I mean, our federal piece of of our total budget is small considering our budget. However, our financial people, the financial department at D155 has already started to look at what happens if we are not able to have some of these funds that we've had in the past through the federal government, and they are already looking at, okay, how could we move this around, or how could we move that around, or do we have a board policy with reserves, and how much of those can we use? And I do think that whatever course of action is taken, it's always good to remember that we will do whatever is best for the D155 students. I mean, that's always, how can we keep doing everything that we're doing? And maybe that does mean more community partnerships. We've definitely looked at those. Like I said, we have 85 industry partners with those micro internships, and we're definitely, even with our new contracts, we're asking for some industry partnerships and apprenticeships for our students. So we're going to definitely do everything we can to find the funds if they go away.
Thank you. Ryan? You already, oh, see, I'm off my chart again.
I'll answer it again.
No need. Okay. The next question is slightly different topic. How do you define diversity, equity, and inclusion? And do you feel the district should remain committed to the support of non-binary and trans students? Walter?
I believe in human rights, that we're all human beings, regardless of where we fall in the alphabet. I believe that as human beings, we all have a right to go to school unharassed, unbullied, and provided with the same basic skills and education to all of us on a level playing field. I think that if we deny these things, that what we're really doing is a disservice to not only our children, but to the employers of the future, because we are providing these children with a closed-off view of the world that they're going to be exposed to once they walk out that door. The world outside the confines of McHenry County is much more diversified and much more varied than a lot of people realize. And if we don't honor and recognize that this exists, we are not preparing our students for the challenges they're going to face in the workplace of tomorrow when they are interacting with human beings as a whole. So again, we're all human beings, period. We all deserve the same rights. We all deserve the same respect. We all deserve the same courtesies and education. And I will do everything I can to support and to defend the rights to that education, regardless of where they fall.
Thank you. Dave?
Yeah, I thought about this question ahead of time because I thought it might come up. And I thought of it as the opposite. What would be the opposite of DEI? It would be uniformity, equality, and exclusion. And that doesn't fly for me, so, and I hope it wouldn't fly for most of the people or anybody. So I agree, we need to treat everybody with the basic human rights. We may not all agree on different things, but when we get in that school, we should be treating each other with kindness, and I don't think we need necessarily a law or a government to tell us to be kind to each other. And I think if somebody tries to strip that right away from districts to teach that, I think we as a board would have to really have some tough conversations about that. If there was discussions, which have already been out there, of losing funding if you teach certain things, that's not a good thing. So it is something that I think I would be very passionate about keeping, and that's my comments at the moment, so thank you.
Thank you. Nicole?
Well, I'm going to do kind of a demonstration because I have thought about this question as well, and I feel that when we marginalize people, we kind of just forget about them. And if we look at this piece of paper as everyone, and then we just say, okay, well, and even if in hiring or something like that, and be like, okay, this is my pool that I'm going to look at. But you know what? Since I'm a woman, I'm not going to look at, this is the people that I'm going to look at to hire. And I'm like, well, you know what? I'm a mom, so these are the people that I'm now wanting because this is who I want to be like me and who I feel is going to have my values. And so then I've lost that whole other section of people and possibilities of what can be good in society and in schools and in life. And now I'm like, well, you know what? I'm a dog person, so definitely no cat people, okay? And now I'm down to these guys. And then, you know what? I like sports. If you don't like sports, that's it. And I drink tea, not coffee. So now I have this. What happened to all those other people? That was, they exist. They are people, and we need to acknowledge them, and we need to look at them. And they're might bring something to the table that we didn't before. And, going from that to this is just not something that is going to get us very far in society. So.
Thank you. Good visuals. And Ryan?
I don't have any visuals, sorry. But I will echo my fellow candidates in terms of, the bottom line is we're talking about, I know they're teenagers, but we're still talking about children who, in this particular, 4-year span of their lives, to me, can be more vulnerable than what they might be in other situations. And so I feel like every child that walks through the doors of our district needs to be respected for who they are and appreciated for who they are. And for me, denying that really denies them those experiences that I think helps them form into, well-developed individuals, those that would contribute to society. And I feel like, again, if we don't recognize that individuality of each of the students and all of the students that walk through those doors, then I really feel like it just does a disservice to them. And then echoing another point that Nicole had made previously about mental health, I feel like a lot of students who maybe don't fit a certain mold tend to be more marginalized and tend to have more mental health issues. And so those are things I worry about, especially coming from a school psychology background, is making sure that we're caring for those students so that they can get the most out of their time that they spend in 155.
Thank you. Thank you all. Okay, next question. Book banning has become a big problem in our nation's schools. How would you address threats to our children's access to books others say are controversial? Let's start with Dave.
Well, personally, I don't believe in banning books. I do believe in age-appropriate books. So the good thing is that we're talking about a high school district here, and I'm a big believer that we should be teaching kids how to think critically and to have available to them, all the resources that they can to basically make the informed decisions. So I would have a real problem with us banning any book at the high school level, and that's pretty much all I'm going to say.
Okay, thank you. Nicole?
Yeah, I think when we start going down the road of banning books, it's a very slippery slope. And I think that being a teacher, you need to have difficult conversations in school, and sometimes books, no matter what genre they are, can help start that conversation. And because it's in a setting, an educational setting, you're going to make sure that you have the proper information and the diverse perspectives. And, like Dave said, with the critical thinking skills, these are things that those 21st century workers are going to need, and they need to be able to find information and look at it critically and decide. And I feel that these books help us do that. And you can even look like, why would people want to ban them, and look at both sides and look at arguments. And I think it just lends itself to making students stronger citizens.
Thank you. Ryan?
So prior to coming back to this area and working for District 47. I'd taken a 5-year hiatus from administration and went back to being a school psychologist. And for those 5 years, I was in Arizona. I don't know how many of you have been to Arizona before, but it was a town that I saw happen on multiple occasions where that particular school board did exactly that. They tried banning books, and they weren't so much controversial as those particular board members just didn't like the authors, like their political ideologies. And I saw students stand up and really talk about like feeling like something was being stripped from them, an experience was being stripped from them. And I really feel like, you know, again, kind of the slippery slope that was just mentioned, but if we start down that path, I feel like we're really preventing those students from having the rich discussions. You know, if it is a controversial topic or material, I feel like it's really prohibiting the students from growing and learning from each other and having discussions. You know, just like we talked about, like, you know, how would we work along with our fellow board members? To me, like, that's a skill that you develop. Even if it's maybe a viewpoint you don't like, it's still a skill you develop. And I feel like this is a prime opportunity for students to develop those skills.
Thank you. Walter?
Yeah, I don't support banning books in any capacity. You know, I certainly believe in relevance to the education and the curriculum, and also providing opportunities that they may not otherwise have at home. But, you know, for many of us, the books are an escape from where we come from, and they provide us an opportunity not only to learn, but to recognize and grow as people. So, you know, the critical thinking, just to echo that, is just imperative. I mean, I'm more concerned about the prevalence of graphic novels than I am about anything, but things like that just boil down to the individual librarian. So, no, I would never ban a book, ever.
Okay, thank you all. Right, next question. This one is about Governor Pritzker. Recently stated that he is proposing a statewide ban on cell phones in the classroom. What are your thoughts on this issue? Can we start with Nicole?
Yeah, I mean, as a teacher in a high school classroom, I see that probably the last 10-ish years, the attention spans of students have definitely gone down, and it's all because of cell phones and social media, and then COVID hit, and then they came back, and it was even really worse. So I can see where that point is one that some schools would be like, yes, we want that. And I know Dr. Lisinski has spoken about this and said that, you know, he really would prefer not to have a ban. I mean, that's definitely going to be something that we're going to have to listen to our teachers about, because some teachers would really welcome a ban, I think, and then others are like, well, I don't know if it's a problem. So I do think that we are going to have to look at it. Personally, in my classroom, I would love it if they were banned and you could have that backed up, and I'm sure some teachers would agree with me. But there's other teachers who are like, you know what, we can maybe do it in a different way, as far as maybe they use their cell phones in this. So I feel like within the ban, it has to be a little like, if you're going to use it in class for like a project, that's fine. But it would be nice just to have some backup from the higher ups and like governor and stuff saying that, no, you can't have it in there.
Thank you. Ryan?
So I tend to cringe a little bit, I guess, when the larger government tries to step in a little bit, in terms of, I feel like that should be a local board decision with local control over whether as a district we feel like that's necessary, instead of just having this overarching law that says everyone in Illinois has to do this or not do this. Because I do feel like I have 2 teenagers and a son who's almost a teenager, and obviously I see how much they utilize their phones for communication. Both of my daughters study on their phones. I mean, they're tiny, I don't know how they could do it, but I couldn't with my eyes. But I feel like they can be a good, useful instructional tool. And I just feel like it really should be up to local control and also teacher discretion in terms of whether he or she wants to use or utilize that particular type of technology within the classroom.
Thank you. Walter?
I agree with Ryan as well. I don't think a state mandate is necessary in that regards, but I do support not having it there during instructional times. And, maybe I'm just old-fashioned, growing up in the 90s and stuff, but I mean, there were telephones and things like that. They used to have to call the front desk if there was a home emergency. And I just see it as a distraction. I see it as an avenue for harassment and for mental health issues, and that really just should not be accessible during instructional periods. Outside of instructional periods, I'm not saying ban them from the school building, but I would definitely be supportive of it as a district as limiting to the employment and use of those.
Thank you. Dave?
So yes, I'm going to focus on screen time. I agree with everything that everybody's said here about local control and the damaging effects. Screen time is having a tremendous impact on the mental health of all of us. This isn't just high school students. I oversee technology for the elementary district. I see students, in kindergarten with better phones than I have sometimes. So it's you see the impact. And there's a YouTuber, Simon Sinek, if you look up some of the stuff he's put out about the dopaminergic effect of cell phones. We're addicted to them. And when we don't have that access, we start to, act out. And we see that in our students, and it's become a real problem. So one of the schools that we work with has started Wireless Wednesdays. And I think we've seen some amazing things out of that. Now, I think there should be balance with the amount of technology in the classroom and the use of cell phones. But, having kids play a board game or actually talking to each other has been an amazing thing to see. And have their eyes light up and like, oh, this was a fun day without technology. So I think it's something we should look at. I do like the idea of local control, and I'm glad it's a point of discussion for both 155 and this whole community. So thank you.
Thank you. The next question comes from the parent of a high school freshman. We're going to start with Ryan. There seems to be little coordination between districts to transition between middle school and high school. What are your thoughts on increasing communication between the districts?
So I have a freshman also, and a junior currently in 155. And so I can speak just from the personal experience on that side of having a current freshman. I know when she was in 8th grade, they brought in like the counselors into the building, helped the students sign up for classes. There were like freshman orientation nights, coming to like meet teachers, things of that nature. Communication's one of those things I feel like it's never going to be perfect. There's always room for improvement. The other side of that, I know, again, just because of my special education experience, I know that in District 47, we communicate with the high school district in terms of students that are going to move, like with special needs, for example, just to talk to them about the services and that type of transition. So, and the high school district reaches out to our district in terms of that. So in terms of my personal experiences, I have seen communication, and it seems to work well. But again, like I said, I feel like communication is just one of those things where it's this overarching theme of always having room for improvement. But so far, it's worked well for my particular family.
Thank you. Walter?
I'm still waiting to see how the districts communicate in regards as my child's going into freshman year next year. So the jury's still out on that. But I think that as long as we're actively involving the students and the parents together and opening lines of communication, whether it be through Facebook or the district websites or, just take-homes and notifications to the parents in that way, and mailers. But there's always room for transparency. There's always room for communication. And that's just kind of where I'm at.
Thank you. Dave?
Yeah, I bring up a couple points. I obviously think transitions are important. The more information we can provide or get from the elementary districts, the better. One of the things that I know that District 155 has purchased was Yellow Folder, which is a way to get student files electronically. So while I'm all anti-tech in some respects, sometimes using those tools to get that information into the hands quicker and more efficiently with the data is a critical piece. One of the things I know that we also did in the past is we had some joint institute days, and while those are very difficult to plan and coordinate, I think those are really good times for the elementary feeder districts and the high school district to collaborate on the curriculum, what the students have learned and what the outcomes should be in 8th grade before they enter high school. And I think there's a number of ideas that could be explored.
Thank you. Nicole?
Yeah, I mean, I know that the superintendents across the county meet often, like at least once a month, and if not more, and the assistant supes that are in charge of the 8th grade nights and things like that work with the principals. So I know that high school students go down into the middle schools to, say you need to take this elective class or all this stuff. So it's interesting that someone would say that. So I feel that that person probably needs to reach out and, maybe reach out to the board and say, I feel that the communication wasn't there, because it is really all about communication, and that is a scary time. I mean, going from 8th grade to high school, so we definitely want to make a smooth transition as possible, but I know that 155 offers parent universities sometimes, and those are put on by the guidance counselors and people in 155, and anyone is able to come to that, and a lot of topics are discussed throughout, so.
Okay, thank you. Next question. We'll start with Walter. How would you increase communication between all stakeholders in the district, including listening to the voices of district parents?
I think really, number one, open communication is to fully explaining what the board is doing, and whether that be as individual members, as spending time within the communities themselves, and making ourselves accessible to them, whether it be making sure that we are sending out adequate communications, to utilizing social media, and utilizing our own students themselves. That's
Okay, thank you. Dave?
Can you repeat that one more time?
It's a long one. How would you increase communication between all stakeholders in the district, including listening to the voices of district parents?
I think there are a number of vehicles for parents to communicate, and I think the most important piece that parents think about is their communication with their teachers. And I think there's a number of tools that are out there for teachers to communicate back. I mean, we have great technological systems for that, but I'd also like to see more of staff picking up a phone sometimes. I think the face-to-face communication and sometimes, picking up a phone, there's so much that's lost in communication when we just go with a written version, or if we, put a two-sentence thing on social media. I think there's way too much of that, so I think the more that we can interact in person, and when it comes to the board, I think it's being visible, being out in the community, being at events, and having those conversations one-on-one. I think it's really about being relational, so.
Thank you. Nicole?
Yeah, I think this question could probably be seen from 2 points. Definitely parents. I know that with my junior at PR, I get a parent square message like sometimes twice a day about what's going on, a message from the principal or career and college information. And that's, on the district website, there's a ton of videos about what's going on in social media for sure. But on the teacher side, like if you really want to find out what's going on with your student's teacher, I do say just reach out to them, because a lot of teachers are, willing to have a conversation on the phone, say, I'd like to say this, and sometimes even if there's not a problem or you feel that there's anticipated, the teachers love to hear from the parents, as do, come to the board meetings and see what it's all about. I mean, I think communication is definitely how a school district runs efficiently, because we need to figure out if there's problems arising, or if we're doing something really good, how can we still achieve more. So I do think, like all those guys said, that communication is definitely something, and I think our communications department really does a phenomenal job at showing everything that's going on in the district, from the student level to the board level.
Thank you. Ryan?
Just to mirror what everyone has really said so far, as a parent, I appreciate the Parent Square. I think I have mine set to where it only comes out at 6 p.m., but just the different communications already come from the district. But again, just what Nicole had said, I agree with, it's two-way. So like if I have questions, I feel very comfortable reaching out to my own children's teachers. And so far I feel like I've been blessed in terms of ones that they seem responsive to me. And then lastly, I would just say, besides just board members being visible, at events and out in the community and things of that nature, you still may not necessarily know who a board member is out in the community unless we're wearing a sign on us that says that's what we do. But come to board meetings. In my experience as a superintendent and going to tons and tons and tons of board meetings, unless people were upset about something, they probably weren't coming to a board meeting. So honestly, I would encourage people just to come to board meetings. There's a time, obviously, during the community participation piece where you can address the board and ask questions and talk to them and give feedback. So I feel like a lot of those things, those avenues already exist, and it's just taking advantage of the things that exist.
Okay, thank you. Unless there are any other questions, we have one last question, and we'll start with Dave. How do you think the high schools are doing with supporting students whose post-graduation plan might not include college?
I think the annual report just came out today. I think somebody emailed it, but there's some amazing information out there about post-high school graduation. And obviously, college readiness is an important factor, but you see a lot of kids joining the armed services. You see a lot of the programs that they've put into the schools, from geometry and construction to certified nursing, giving students an opportunity to explore alternatives to that. And I think the more I thought about this, college is extremely expensive now, and we have a great, local community college to be at and to save some money, but, I don't know if college is for everyone. It is for quite a few people, but I think we have to look at those options for our students. I know that at Crystal Lake South, they've done a lot with a trades program. My backdoor neighbor, printed a bunch of shirts for that, and she's extremely excited about the trades program. So, and I really want one of those sheds that they're building at Central. But anyway, so I think my time's up.
Thank you. Nicole?
Yeah, I think this has been one of the areas where the board has really worked with administration and to bolster the fact that you don't have to go to college to make a living. And, I feel that we did a really good job too, changing some attitudes, because at one point I feel that everyone, if you're not going to college, then, I'm only going to MCC. So I feel like we've done a really good job making sure that, there's tons of jobs out there that you don't need to go to college for and not come out with a ton of debt, because college, like Dave said, is super expensive. We've bolstered our manufacturing and CNC programs at 155. We've added like healthcare sciences and the CNA and EKG. You can get an EKG certificate now. Culinary certificates are available, lots of dual credit classes, which helps you if you do want to come to MCC to get a certificate. You're already ahead of the game with credits that come here. Workforce Development Committee is doing a huge job with trying to build stronger community partnerships, and we're moving into the apprentice stage. We'll have a apprentice program here in the next year. So we're definitely looking at that because, yes, college is not for everyone, and I always tell the kids, do what you love if it's in a trade or a skill, and then get a job, and maybe they'll pay for college, or maybe you'll figure it out that you actually do want to go. But I do think that we are definitely moving in the right direction.
Thank you. Ryan?
For me, I really feel like it's also listening to the needs of the community. So as an example, when I was a principal in Peoria, it was an alternative school, but it was also a career and technical center. And so we had a lot of like industry, trades, a lot of folks, they wanted to be involved in that piece because they also knew the type of employees they wanted, the type of workforce that they wanted. Like as an example, we had a program where students, they could start as juniors. It was a cosmetology program. When they were finished, they could take their cosmetology license and graduate from high school, being able to work as cosmetologists, fully licensed cosmetologists. And then they had started a CNA program, and right before I left, we were in the works to do a culinary program as well. So just that career tech aspect, I feel like obviously we're embedded in the community. These schools to me are often the nucleus of the community, and so it's listening to what our community needs are, I feel, and helping prepare our students, whatever they choose, after high school, is to be successful within that community and obviously beyond as well.
Okay, thank you. Walter?
I don't mean any disrespect to anybody at this table when I say this, but we need to do more. I agree and I support and I applaud the CNA program, the culinary program. I've been cooking for 25 years. But a journeyman union plumber makes $55 an hour. Nurses make 30, and CNAs are a great entryway to that nursing career and things like that. But I think that there's a opportunity to partnership a little bit, cast a wider net. Technology, whether it be with manufacturing, partnering with the unions, and bringing those skills more to the forefront. I'd love to see 200 internships, and I can say this because I'm standing here as one of the people that fell through the cracks. Not everybody goes to college. That is indeed true, but the number of people that go to college and don't graduate is kind of a hidden statistic. And not to be saddled with that debt and to have those basic skills coming out of high school, I think would be an invaluable service to the community.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for all your answers this evening. It's now time to begin your closing statements, and I'd like to start with Nicole.
Okay, we do have, just to push back a little, we do have 85 industry partners, but we did have over 200 students complete internships, and there were an array of areas. We had profit and nonprofit agencies, government agencies, manufacturing and healthcare, and those are only to name a few. And then, like I said, we are moving to offering apprenticeship opportunities in the upcoming school year. So we are trying to make sure that we educate every student at D155. And the district has started work on its new strategic plan that lays out our goals for the next 5 years. That includes closing the achievement gap, building more community partnerships, finding alternative revenue sources for facility updates to take the burden off taxpayers. We've equipped PR with solar panels. That's our first school that we will do that with. Those save energy costs. We're building new stadiums at no additional cost to taxpayers, and we're working together to keep our schools top tier. I mean, when I got on the board in 2017, the schools were already great, and I feel that we've just enhanced them over the years. And we just keep them that top-tiered learning place, which keeps our community and our housing prices high. And I feel like 155 is a destination, a school district that people come to live because of the schools. And I'm running again because I just want to be a part of it and see a few of this strategic plan finished.
Thank you. Ryan?
Yes. As I mentioned in my opening statement, I really just feel like being a school board member, if it's not the only, it's one of the only unpaid elected positions. And so to me, a person running for the school board is in it for obviously the students, for the community. And I agree, like that's my goal is, well, that's one reason why I came here, is because I wanted my my children, sorry, to attend District 155 schools, and so I want to continue, to me, that legacy of attracting people to the community who are also going to stay here also in terms of continuing to contribute to the community. But to me, again, being a school board member is like one of the highest acts of public service for me. And so throughout my career, you know, I've been in education for more than 20 years, but I also was a volunteer firefighter when I was a superintendent because I wanted to serve my community in that way. I was appointed to the city council when I was superintendent because I wanted to also serve my community in that manner as well. So for me, it's about like public service and just having that servant mindset about doing what's best for the students and doing what's best for the community.
Thank you. Walter?
Yeah, I just want to reiterate that, you know, District 155 is awesome. You know, I think that, you know, it shows with the community, our community as a whole, our pride in our district, our property values. You know, and I'm not running to throw a grenade in the room, you know. I'm running as a public service because I think that we can do better for my kid. I think we can do better for your kid. You know, I think that we have an opportunity to support, you know, education and workforce development at the same time. You know, building the skills for tomorrow by giving them the skills to build the houses tomorrow, supporting responsible bidding ordinances, making sure that people that build the houses in the community can afford to buy the houses in the community so they can afford to go to our wonderful schools in this community. Supporting our teachers, expanding curriculum, recognizing our history. All of those things, I think, need to be forefront of our public education system. And, you know, I'm not up here as a political aspiration. I'm here because I'm here for my child. It's a civics lesson. And because I believe I can do some good and I can help progress the values of Crystal Lake and Cary.
Thank you. And Dave?
Right. I was just thinking when Nicole was speaking about getting on the board in 2017 and then, you know, being proud of, you know, it was good back then and we're proud of where it's come in 7 years. That's what I'm really excited about, is that, you know, District 155 are great schools, but we're not complacent schools. That we're going to be looking for those areas where we can provide additional opportunities for kids. And that's the one word that comes out in my mind that I'm going to look at as a board member if I'm elected, is just opportunity. I think our students have a great opportunity in every one of our schools to have a fantastic education if they put their heart and soul into their school. And I saw the goals printed on the wall the other day, a 5% increase in student sense of belonging, or 5% increase in students involved in an extracurricular. I mean, they're looking at these little incremental pieces of growth. I'm excited about that. I'm excited to be a part of that. And if I'm elected, it would be an honor to serve. And I appreciate the time that you've given us tonight to share our passion and some of our experiences. And thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you to all the candidates, and I'd like to thank everybody who came here tonight. And that's it. Have a good night.
Nice job. I'll turn off the mic. Hot mic.